Somebody wants to get to know you better, and I'm hearing, who are you when the lights are off? Who are you when you're not performing? So it feels like this is somebody that is either watching you on social media or has seen you in different circumstances, maybe professionally at work, where you have to kind of, put on a front, put on a facade, use your customer service voice. And there's a sense that they find you very personable, very approachable. Even if you're kind of sassy, there's a sense of almost like that energy fits you. It's nothing that comes across as very abrasive. There's almost a sense of like they find it kind of endearing, but there's also more to you than meets the eye, which is very apparent to this person. And so there's a sense that they want to, again, kind of explore beyond just the surface, beyond just the superficial between the two of you. If this is someone that you've been even just like starting to get to know, they may feel that you may be somebody that kind of like fills silence with nervous chatter. That can be another energy that's sort of aligned with this. And there's almost a sense of like they're feeling you're performing in some sort of way. And it feels like this person is coming forth with almost like the energy of patience, knowing that it will take time in order for you to kind of like exhaust yourself by way of that performance so that they can really get to see who are you when you're comfortable, who are you when you can relax around other people. So there's a sense that they have not judged you from the surface, but this is somebody that is almost reserving judgment in terms of like, is there true compatibility here? Is this a circumstance where there's something for us to work with? Because they're noticing that there's something where you're projecting a lot of energy out, maybe in general or in your interactions with them, and it's fascinating to them, the idea of like, what does the softer side of you look like? But they recognize and acknowledge that this is something that they're going to have to just kind of like sit and wait. It's something that can't be forced out of you. It's something that if they were to try to push you into that energy, it would just, you would respond with more of that kind of projection energy, more of that sort of like, I'm putting out my vibe. I'm not going to absorb the vibe around me, but you're somebody that really emits your own frequency, which also may be very refreshing compared to people that they're used to or people within this environment that they see you. If it's somebody watching on social media or somebody that has like physical, like in-person contact with you, you're somebody that really like, you set the tone of circumstances. You march to the beat of your own drum. There's something very unique about you, where you're not just kind of like following along. You're not just somebody that is kind of like following along with trends or absorbing kind of the mood and the atmosphere around you. You're somebody that shifts the atmosphere of rooms, circumstances, even kind of like platforms that you're on that they've kind of like taken in sort of your feed, anything that you put out there. It's something that it's almost like breath of fresh air energy. You bring forth a lot of light and a lot of positivity, which it feels like is a refreshing change for this person compared to what they're used to or compared to what they've seen. But they also sense and identify like you're wearing a mask. There's more to you than meets the eye. So this is somebody it feels like that wants to coax you out of your shell, which is coming through as almost like a shell of being very like outgoing or very outspoken or very like self-assured. Like they feel that your confidence is authentic, but there's almost a sense of kind of like you've had to adapt that aspect of your character. You've had to develop that very specifically, or it's very intentional on your part. And so this person is like, they're wrapped up in their thoughts right now, kind of like with all these different questions. Like, I wonder who you are when you feel safe in another person's presence. I wonder who you are when you can take all of that armor off, all of that like need to perform or need to posture, or present like a certain face out for the world's benefit or for the benefit of people that you're encountering or you're dealing with. I wonder what that side of you's like. And they think of it as a privilege. Like probably you're somebody that even if you have a lot of friends, even if you're popular, you got a lot of people around you, you got a good reputation, you're friendly, you're approachable, you're likable, there's a sense of like that inner circle, that inner sanctum, the people that have experienced you when you're vulnerable, the messy parts of you, the parts that don't have it all figured out. That's something that has really kind of like captivated this person's attention. The idea of like, what is that like? Something that has to be earned very gradually, again, as opposed to like where you're just sort of like giving that away to people, or that you're very like quick to kind of open up, let the guard down, and let people see inside. We've got clear away old energies. Yeah, so this is somebody that wants to take your circumstance to the next level. If this is somebody that's just in like a secret admirer energy, they're kind of like planning the approach in some sort of way that gets your attention, in the sense of kind of like I'm paying direct attention to you. I have a lot of respect, a lot of admiration, but I don't just want to sit there as a fan. Like I'd like to present myself in some sort of way that we could get to know one another more. So they may actually like volunteer information about themselves. They may kind of almost try to, push themselves to be more outgoing than they might normally be, in order to kind of get you to see, like I can match your vibe, I can match your energy. And it's almost like that might be something that is kind of like triggering a shadow within them, almost like a people pleaser quality, because this doesn't feel like somebody that is trying to like match your vibe in order to manipulate you. It's something where it's almost like the only way that I can really knock on that door, knock on that shell, knock on that armor, is if I'm going into that kind of projector mode as well. But it's with the intention, of kind of like meeting you on your turf, meeting you on your terms, matching you at your level, aligning with you where you are, so that the two of you can kind of explore, is there something more that we could access or bring out of one another that would almost be like slipping into something more comfortable. And with this little dove up here on top of the card, this is definitely like this person comes in peace. This isn't like a manipulator. This isn't a narcissist. This isn't somebody that's like, ooh, how can I manipulate this person? How can I kind of like get this person out of their power stance, knock them off their square, or kind of like weasel my way in? There's genuinely a sense of something that they see within you that actually might remind them a lot of themselves. This may be somebody as well who is kind of like, they have to put on a front, they have to put on a facade based on what they do for work. Something that is kind of like an entrained part of their personality, something they've done to kind of like adapt or survive in this world or in their environment. Maybe in the circumstances that they've encountered you. You guys may work in like a similar field, a similar profession. You could be coworkers. They could be somebody, if it's like a social media thing, they could be somebody out on social media. They get it. They understand that this doesn't make you like a fake person or a false person, but that there's something that it's almost like this is kind of just how you present to sort of the general public, or, acquaintances or people that don't really know you that well. And so they're sensing like a kindred spirit sort of energy. And so there's a sense of like, I think I could align with you on that level. And then maybe you're somebody that has that kind of like shared interest or that similar interest in connecting with another person deeper than that sort of like need to perform. We also have kindle love. Yeah, so this is somebody, it feels like they may approach in like a friendly sort of energy. They may approach in an inquisitive kind of energy, coming along, seeking out goods and services, or, something that could align in terms of like a shared interest that you've sort of put out there, that you've expressed or that they're aware of. But this is definitely somebody that doesn't want to linger in the friend zone. But it feels like that's the only way they can get a foot in the door, is to approach in that sense. And this may, again, be something where you've triggered shadows within this person, but you've also kind of like, there's a glimmer of alignment with the light within them, something that is buried within, or it's a little more obscured, where there's almost just like an instinct within them, sort of like, okay, how would I want to be approached by like a random stranger, somebody I didn't know very well, or somebody that was a coworker, or, they were kind of just part of like a peripheral, like acquaintance group or like a community? What would make me feel most comfortable? What would make me feel like this person's matching my energy? And then there'd be that ability to kind of like, okay, we develop something special. We see how sustainable that is, if that aligns in a longer term sense, and then explore the possibilities of softening. So it feels like there's an urge within this person to kind of like soften with you, kind of like walk with you, hold your hand, keep pace with you through this process of like, we're going to align in this projector energy. But they've got this intention of like, I'd like to explore something more. I'd like to explore more tenderness. I'd like to explore, the possibility that we could both relax in one another's presence. And yeah, we've also got relax. So there is that energy of somebody that it's kind of like, especially with that moon, that full moon, it's like they're disguising their intentions. It's like sneaky, but with a good reason, because they're seeing or sensing that you're somebody that if they kind of just come in like a Casanova energy, or they come in and they try to like smooth talk you, that's not going to be very effective. There's something about you that is kind of like, you're in a very self-assured energy, or again, like the environment that they've encountered you in, the nature of these circumstances, anything they're aware of about you at this point. Like if this is somebody that knows you socially or even, professionally, they could be sort of like aware on a surface level of like your dating history, things that you've been through in your life that may have made you kind of have to put up this wall, put on this armor, put up your guard for, like closed for spiritual maintenance. You're healing, you're kind of coming through some emotional wounds. This may be somebody as well that has been in kind of like an admirer energy, and they've been sort of keeping a respectful distance from like a last breakup, or something that they might not have even known the details of, but could kind of just sense you were going through something. And it's like, I don't want to push the limits. I don't want to also risk getting rejected if this person's like in the midst of sort of like taking some time to themselves, taking some time to be single, taking some time to heal. Like, I want to make sure that that process is complete, or, there's enough like grace period for that before I just sort of impose myself in, before I sort of present myself as the next possible suitor, or someone that wants to come in closer. So again, there's a sense of like they approach in one kind of like, everything's out on the table. It's all very above board. It's all very clear. It's something that is very like friendly. But there's definitely like a hidden motive there. There's a sense of like, okay, if we can establish something, some kind of like a greater dialogue, some sort of understanding with one another, like, I'm magnetized to you for something more than just shared interests, or that you seem like a neat or interesting person, or we got these things in common, or I think you're very attractive, I think you're very beautiful, I think you're very mysterious. Like it's all of those things, and then kind of like the heartstrings have been pulled within this person. There's emotional energies that are stirring within them. And we also have dream wide awake. Yeah, so again, this is somebody that wants to, get to that point where they're kind of laying it all out on the table, but there's a sense of almost like they may even be somebody that the nature of kind of like, they're recognizing the energy that you're in that sort of matches something within them. There's a sense of kind of like, if I don't kind of deliberately hold something within myself back, then I'm going to come on too strong. This may be somebody that habitually comes on too strong and is kind of rejected, or maybe, there's somebody that hasn't dated in a while, or perhaps they are the one who is like, come out of a breakup, or they took some time to be single, to kind of just like get back in their own energy. That can be the other reason why they've sort of sat there kind of observing, or they're sort of taking this more like a deliberate approach, not so much cautious, but like deliberate, because there's a sense of like, I want to make sure that I don't get spooked. I want to make sure that I'm ready. Like if you are, open to this, if we connect, if we click, if it vibes, if it gels and it can become something more, I want to make sure that I'm not like getting in over my head. So again, this is something where it's like all will be revealed. This isn't somebody that's just going to try to like, get you to let your guard down, and you think that it's just a friend, and then they kind of like come at you from left field. It's sort of like gradually leaning into that experience of wanting things to develop very organically between the two of you, if it's able to kind of transcend that boundary between like, okay, there's a friendship, or there's some like deeper friendship that develops, and whatever those explorations are a little bit further down the road as far as like the romantic potential. Yeah, and we also have take action. So they're very determined. They are headed towards you. They're inching in closer. You're the horse, maybe something very significant in this situation that's coming up on February 17th. So that can again indicate sort of like very quickly this person will present themselves. They'll reach out, or there'll be some kind of movement in this circumstance that sort of indicates like they want to take things a step further. They're expressing more interest in you, more direct attention. They're kind of coming out of the shadows with that energy of the horse. That's all about that quick movement, that stamina, that duration. So again, this is something where they're testing the waters of this situation. It seems like it would be a good match, but they won't really know until they're more up close and personal, or you start communicating with one another, or they put themselves out there in some way. But they're definitely thinking in terms of that strategy. How is this going to be sustainable in a longer term sense? They can't just kind of like dwell in the friend zone. They don't want to be trapped within the friend zone, but they also don't want to kind of sit in that duplicitous energy of like, yeah, I'm crushing on this person, but I don't know if they're into someone like me. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this. The only thing I can think to do is kind of approach in that friendly, I come in peace sort of energy. But there's definitely like more that they would like to explore in this situation. So it feels like it's somebody that kind of has a plan of action. They want to just sort of see how things go, but they're very kind of like determined to sort of take certain steps in this situation with kind of like a bigger end goal at play that goes beyond just friendship, or beyond just kind of like, let's establish like a person-to-person connection. Yeah, and we also have engaged trust. So this is bringing to mind the idea of something where they get butterflies. Butterflies may be significant for you for this. You may see that a lot, like butterflies maybe showing up a lot in your reality as kind of like an indicator that this person is going to kind of like make themselves known, or there's going to be some progress in this situation. And there's a sense of almost like they don't feel nervousness is the right approach, because there's something where maybe if you've had some interactions with one another before, and if they were kind of nervous at any point in time, that might have made your wall go up. Your spidey sense could have like tingled, and you're just like, nope, I don't know. I'm not looking for that, or I don't know what your intentions are, or just the nature of the circumstance. It might have been awkward, it might have been weird, they might have had to kind of like pull back and regroup. And so there's a sense of almost like, okay, I don't want to lead with that. I don't want to get like swept up in that cloud of butterflies and get carried away and sort of miss crucial steps. So this person is almost like trying to apply strategy, but they also feel that it's something that needs to be able to kind of take flight very organically. So it's bringing to mind the idea of sort of focusing on, like, if you're sort of like out and about in nature, and you see a butterfly like landing on a flower, for example, and it's just chilling there. There's a sense of like, okay, this could be something which takes off and takes flight, but I want to focus on that sort of like delicate movement forward. We're just chilling in this situation, but it's not kind of the energy of it's not going anywhere. Like, they definitely want liftoff. They want something more in the circumstance, but there's a sense of almost like approaching you tenderly, to acknowledge or honor like a tenderness that they sense inside of you that's not immediately obvious at this time. And there's also something where it's like it honors kind of the tenderness or the vulnerability within them, as well as kind of like, okay, it might be too soon to let that out, or it might not be their style to kind of present that, or they're again kind of like coming out of a wounded period, or kind of like a closed off period as far as romance is concerned. And so there's a sense of kind of like honoring where they're at on their journey, and where they kind of assume you're at, would guess that you're at, you could possibly be at on your journey in life, and kind of like, let's just take this sort of like slowly, but in a way that is almost like special or memorable. And we also have take the opportunity. Yeah, so this is somebody that's like taking a risk to move in closer. They sense an opportunity, or there's been a circumstance of opportunity that's been created, in the form of like they're watching your social media regularly. They are a follower, they're a subscriber. They're somebody that observes. They may have commented a little. They may have liked certain things, shared certain things that you've put up, or just like a presence on your social media. This can also be something where you're in like a shared environment like work or school, or somebody you see at the gym, somebody where it's kind of like, okay, there's a certain regularity to this open possibility. If I step forward, here's a chance to have communication. And so it feels like they're kind of like done sort of just waiting there and wondering what if. And this is somebody that's gonna like take that chance. They're gonna make that move, most likely pretty quickly. And we also have offer up gratitude. So again, this is something where they want to be very careful that they don't kind of like give you any mixed signals, or that energy of sort of like they've got deeper intentions that they aren't prepared to reveal right away, that doesn't translate obviously or even subtly as that they're trying to manipulate you. This is somebody that wants to kind of allow this circumstance to sort of bloom in its own season. They're not trying to rush anything. They may also not be ready for, like a really deep connection. They may be attracted to you. They might find you very sexy, very gorgeous, very beautiful, very handsome, but there's a sense of kind of like, they could be somebody that circumstances they've been in like that before. People catch feelings for one another if it ends up being a situationship, and then it all falls apart. So they're very like mindful of that, like experiences in their past that they're seeking to avoid in this window of opportunity with you. There's also a sense of they don't want to come across as some kind of creep that's just trying to get in your pants, trying to get you in bed, trying to get you to let your guard down in order to kind of get what they want and move forward. So there's all kinds of like possibilities. Like this person almost has a list of things not to do, which is sort of like feeding into that idea of like wearing a mask, or, projecting out a certain kind of like image to you in this circumstance. Like they're very intentional with how they want to move forward, but there's a sense of almost like that's not really them, like, or it's an aspect of them, but there's a sense like I want to kind of like let you know who I am beyond that. I don't want that to be kind of like the way I lead in this situation, and then it becomes the foundation between the two of us. But I also don't want to kind of miss that step of holding back, letting things sort of blossom naturally, or like in their season, or taking time to get to know one another better before we kind of like, become sexual or become something more intimate or more close, because I see that there could be long-term potential here. Like I feel that I'm open to that, or I'm looking for that at this point in my life. And this is somebody that feels like has maybe learned the hard way, kind of like what avoiding crucial steps, what that can lead to. That's those tower moments. That's kind of like building something on a faulty foundation, and then it can't sustain itself over kind of like the stress and pressure of just, the ups and downs of human relationships. And so there's a sense of like, as they're thinking about putting themselves out here with you and with this circumstance, it's almost an opportunity for them, it feels like, to make up for mistakes they made with past people, or like a chapter of their life they've kind of like come out of sort of like, if I want to experience something different in my life and in love, I need to take the reins and sort of like steer the situation in a different direction. I can't just keep repeating the same sort of process, or the same moves, or showing up in the same way and expect to experience anything different. So this is somebody that's very kind of proactive to sort of present themselves in a different way with you than kind of like what they've done recently with other people, or what has been kind of like their pattern overall in their life. Yeah, and we also have create silence. So they want to, again, kind of like provide you with some sort of reassurance that this is not somebody that has like ulterior motives that are negative. This is something where it's kind of like the full intention, the full attraction. They want to hold that back. They want to keep that in the energy of mystery for a period of time, so that you can see, like, can we warm up to one another? Is this something where, this fascination, this attraction, this curiosity, this draw towards you, when we get up close and personal, when we have those conversations, when we have those more direct exchanges, if you're interested in me, if you like me, because for some people they don't even know, like, are they your type? Are you even available? Are you even looking? Are you even open for meeting new people or establishing connections? And so there's a sense of they're trying to just like not kind of get lost in fantasy land. They're hoping for the best, but there's almost like I have to deal with sort of where we are right now. And so the best thing that they can do is kind of like provide those reassurances that like, yeah, it's possible to get butterflies and get carried away in this circumstance, but the thing to aim for is that kind of like butterfly sitting on the flower, that butterfly that's just in that kind of like calm, peaceful, very unbothered stance. Like that's what they're wanting to achieve with you at this particular moment in time. Yeah, and we also have invite peace. So again, this is somebody that's like, I come in peace. I'm coming, with kind of like my walls up, but my hands out. So you see, I have nothing to hide. This is somebody that it feels like will be very forthcoming in terms of like answering questions that you have, or being very, kind of like friendly or engaging as far as communication is concerned. It may even be something that kind of triggers wounds within you, sort of like, okay, is this a manipulator? What is this person's angle? What do they want? So it's like, it's almost something that it feels like this experience with this person has the ability to be very, in certain ways, triggering for the two of you, but it also has the ability to kind of be very healing. As you sort of acknowledge those wounds, you honor the triggers within yourselves and respond accordingly. And it feels like for a lot of you, there'll be a choice to kind of like continue to sort of get to know this person, or to like revisit this potential between the two of you. It's not going to be like alarm bells, red flags, let me just close off from this and not deal with this, like not going down that road of like toxicity or the same shit that you were dealing with in past seasons of your life or with past people. This is the ability to like say to yourselves kind of like, okay, we've got these triggers. The triggers indicate that there were wounds. We have acknowledged or looked at those wounds or aware of those wounds enough that they are now wisdom. That wisdom speaks in the form of triggers. And so it feels like whether this has long-term potential or it's something that, maybe a friendship develops out of it. It could even be something where you date one another, temporarily, you go out on a couple of dates, or again has long-term potential. It feels like it represents an experience where it's kind of like not running at the first sign of discomfort, but really sitting within that and kind of asking those feelings, or like, what is this trying to tell me? What do I need to adjust in terms of what I'm giving and what I'm responding to with this other individual, that is directly trying to kind of like interface with me? What can this sort of teach or demonstrate, or what can I exercise in real time, as far as the work that's been done to kind of heal and level up and evolve and grow and kind of align with a higher timeline, a higher level experience of what's possible in romance, what's possible in connection, what's possible in love. And it feels like it'll be that for you and this person. Like you're both kind of seeking the same thing, passionate relationship that is also peaceful. It's like they're seeking the same thing that you are. And so it feels like it aligns at this particular time for the both of you, again, for this opportunity to kind of like, take a different approach and also be approached in a different way than either of you has kind of done with another person before, and that you've experienced with another person before. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Please like the video or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.